Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the Northern Trust. This is my Before the Lock show, and first off and most, thank you for stopping by. Give me a few moments. I'm going to give you the ownership projections, my top value plays. Of course, those are the guys that are going to be priced on DFS DraftKings 7,000 and below. So we're going to go down and find those guys that could actually help you get an edge and get you a 6 of 6 and hopefully some money in your pocket. I am also going to talk about weather. We're going to wrap all that up in about 20 minutes. So real quickly, let's talk about the FedEx Cup giveaway that I've got going on. And what is this? Simply, I am going to be giving away $1,000 to one lucky subscriber, and it is going to be random. And if I get to 1,000 subscribers, there's going to actually be two winners, so make that $2,000. And how do you get into this giveaway? Real simply, click the subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber, like this video, and just tell me in the YouTube comments below, who do you think is going to win the FedEx Cup playoffs? That is the guy that is going to make it all the way through and win, of course, the Tour Championship. Okay, with that said, lastly, I went over, for my top value plays, I will be leveraging these tournaments that you see here. I'm not going to go into all the tournaments and details, but if you watched the pick show or the preview show, you already got the information, so we don't need to waste any time there. All right, with that said, let's go do some research and analysis on my value plays and then get you guys out of here. Okay, so I'm jumping over into Fantasy National, and as you see, what we are looking at is, of course, the DraftKings from the Northern Trust. Again, you can use these picks for FanDuel, but the pricing will be a little different. I am pulling 24 rounds of recent data. That's tournaments, so it's about 6 different tournaments. Make sure that also I don't get just the easier tournaments that have been in there. Want some of the tougher ones, like the Open, the PGA, the US Open, that kind of tournaments, to make sure that we're getting good data. I have no filters turned on over here to the left, and we are going to actually scroll all the way down here to the 7,000 range. Of course, one of my top 15 picks was Seamus Power, so I won't be picking him, but I think he's a great play. The next guy that I'm going to go land on, and I'll go through some of these guys that I think, make sense that I was also kind of looking at. The first guy that I'm actually landing on at 6,900 is going to be Matt McNeely. Right, we've seen him play some great golf. Typically, I think of him on a shorter course. This is a little longer track, but he's so elite. And the two areas that I'm really looking at in the mini model that I've got here is the ball striking and around the green are probably the two heaviest that are in my mind that I'm looking at, just so you understand where I'm coming from. Also, what you got over here is birdie or better opportunities gained. So you're going to see that, and you can trend. You're going to see recent results, and of course, their tournament history. And the one that we're really going to want to weigh is the 2019, which of course was played at Liberty National. But as I mentioned, Matt McNeely has been making cuts left and right. He's also has some really good showings on even courses like Pebble Beach, where is some of the smaller greens, and these are some smaller greens. If you want to look at the splits over here, it's his second best surface. He does gain over a quarter stroke against the field when he's putting on bent in his career. You can see, as I mentioned, doesn't always do the best on difficult courses, but I wouldn't put this as super difficult. I'd put it more in the average area. If we want to look at off the tee, because you are going to need to keep it in play, you can see off the tee, he has been on the rise, so that's all good. And if we look over kind of just those last few rounds, everything is pretty green. His putter actually at the 3M Open, he lost almost 2 strokes, but you can see typically gains with the putter. And where he's actually gained, if we want to look, I think, let's see here, we just pull up the... So some of his best putting has actually been on bent, hence at the Rocket Mortgage. That's a bent green. And if we look just recently, the John Deere, he also gained over 3.5 strokes, which is also a bent green. Okay, let's go see if we can plug in. Like I said, some of these guys aren't going to have all the tournaments that I want to look at, but we can kind of work through. So we already saw the Northern Trust he played, but that was at TPC National. But we'll pull it up again. He had a 61st, so nothing really to write home about there. The BMW, he did make it onto there in 2020 and ended up in the 40th. That's out of 70 guys, just to give you an idea. We go look at the Memorial. He had a miscut in 2020. What about the Genesis? Miscut recently in 21. What about the Arnold Palmer? So he's played there 3 times, a 49th, a 46th, and a miscut sprinkled in between there. What about the 3M? So this passed very recently, which again I mentioned. I think this is a great comp course. It's actually from kind of statistical. It is a par 71, very similar, almost 7,400 yards. And it's also got a lot of water. And why, even the course that they're going to be playing doesn't have a ton of water. But because it has a lot of water, it means you've got to keep it in play, in which he has done. We go look at the Honda. Also, again, some similarities. You got to keep it in play. There is a bit more water at the Honda. That is a par 70, a little shorter course, very tough. He's had 11th back in 20, but a miscut in 21. And what about, I don't think he's played in any WGC events, and he did not play in the CJ Cup or the Zozo. So that's Matt McNeely, but I like him down there. He's one of my more favorite plays. Roger Sloan's coming off that hot showing, of course, in the playoff with a T2. But as you see, the ball striking is just not where I want it over a longer period than just, of course, one tournament. Gary Higo, he's got to do it a lot with the putter, and you can see he's kind of fallen. I think you give me a course that's kind of wide open for Garrick, like the Palmetto that he won. I would think a little more about it, but that's not this course. So funny enough, the next guy I'm actually landing on is Taylor Gooch. You can see Gucci boy has actually made all the cuts except, he had I think a decent Thursday, but had a bad Friday at the Wyndham, so didn't make the cut. Pretty or better opportunities, pretty solid. You can see ball striking at 66. Around the green, he's 9th. But he also hits on this proximity at 36. So did quite a few things in the mini model that I liked. What kind of stood out about Taylor that I liked the most, and we could talk about, so again, he is gaining on bent grass for the life of his career. Poa is his best surface. He can handle average courses, and that's where I think, I kind of stated it's between difficult and average. Let's look at off the tee, how he's been trending. So you can see he's had a little bit of struggle off the tee, which you can see that's usually what can catch him. But approach around the green and putting, he's strong. But what I noticed, at least at the Wyndham, he was gaining off the tee. Also at the Charles Schwab and the PGA. Just had these two kind of misfires at the Travelers, and got away with it at the Memorial. If we go look at some of his past, so at the Northern, he had a 71st in 2019 at Liberty, but at 18th at TPC Boston. What about the BMW? He had a 65th, which is not great. But if we start to look at some of the harder courses, like the Memorial at Murfield, he had an 18th, which and that was recent. I like to see that. If we look at the Genesis, he's done well. Again, that's Poa greens, but he's had a 12th, a 10th, a 20th. So what I think of Taylor Gooch is that he can handle some of the tougher courses. The Arnold Palmer at Bay Hill, he's had a 13th in 2020, but a 43rd recently. The 3M, this wasn't this year, but in 2020, he had an 18th and a 73 at TPC Twin Cities. What about the Honda? Its best showing was a 20th back in 2019, but a 46th recently. No WGC events. And the CJ Cup, he did have a 5th at Shadow Creek, so that was also pretty interesting to me. And then at the Zozo, he had a 35th. So again, that's out of a field of around 80 guys. But, when you're getting down in this area, he does a lot of the things I like to see. So, yeah, definitely plugging in Gooch. Brendan Todd took me a moment, to think about. And if you pull up Brendan Todd under 12 rounds, he's going to have a little better ball striking around a green. I mean, actually, he was firing on everything. So fairways gain, number one. Funny enough, if you look over also the last 12 rounds, the putter was what actually was causing the issues. But the one thing that I know about Brendan Todd, of course, is he can putt. Now, he's usually maybe a little better putter on Bermuda, which shows here. But Ben actually, over the life of his career, is actually his best putting surface, where he typically will gain over a half stroke. So, it kind of took me a little bit to think about if I wanted to do Todd, but I think, he could be sneakily surprising. And what I liked was I saw over his last 2 rounds. Now, this is what was interesting was he was gaining in all these, off the tee approach around a green. He lost, funny enough, 4 strokes at the 3M Open putting. And usually over the career of Brendan Todd, that is not what he does. You can see here a lot of green in the putting sector. So I'm going with, I think he just had an off week at TPC Twin Cities with a putter, hoping that the ball striking and around the green stays where it is. And you can see in his last event at the Wyndham, he actually gained almost a stroke with the putter. Also, he's got a little more experience than some of the guys down here. So you can see he's played the Northern Trust, been in the FedEx Cup playoffs. He had a 64th in 2020. That was at TPC Boston. Let's take a look at the BMW. So he made it into Olympia Fields and got an 8th out of 70 guys. That's pretty solid. The Memorial, his best finish, he had an 8th and a 17th a while back. But recently it was a 53rd or a 22nd in 2020, you could see. Check out the Genesis. He had a miscut recently, but a 56th. Best place was a 14th back in 2015. So, he's got around a Riviera okay. Arnold Palmer, best shown was in 2020. He had an 18th. And then a 57th here recently. Like I said, his game hasn't been as great as when he almost put the 3 wins together in the 2020 season. What about the 3M miscut recently? What about the Honda? A few miscuts at a 32nd way back, so you can't really count that. And the WGC. So at concession in Florida, he had an 18th for the WGC Mexico. In Memphis, he had a 15th back in 2020. So he's got some WGC experience, so that's good to see. The CJ Cup, he had a 52nd. Again, that's about out of 80 players. And at the Zozo, he had a 47. So, again, when you're getting down in this area, I'm looking for guys that I know can do the things I need. And I'm looking for the ball striking around the green. And he typically can putt. So, I'm going to give him a pass with the putter. I think Chris Kirk is a viable play, right? He showed us some life at the Wyndham. I don't have any issues there. Mackenzie Hughes, you can just see the ball striking, the things that I really need over his life of careers. Kind of shown some recent, good showings, but a little easier courses. So I'm passing EVR, of course, at his first win on the PGA at the Barracuda. Also didn't, showed up okay at the Wyndham, so I can see plugging him in. You had Pat Perez that kind of got on a hot streak. He's kind of going, so you could kind of look at him and say, hey, either he's almost top 10 in or missing a cut. So you're kind of getting one or the other. Glover, of course, had a win for, it's been a while, but finally had his win at the John Deere. HV3, right, had a T3 here at Liberty National. Right now projected ownership is 5%. I'd be curious if he gets a little more chalky than that. But really, that's one of his better finishes other than RBC Heritage, where he had a second place, his best finish on the PGA Tour. Hadwin's shown some life here recently, and is typically a little better than that around the green. But you can see the putting, these 3 areas, fairways gained, 175, 200, it's hitting on. He's just missing my top 2 that I'm really looking at. You look at Joel Damon doing everything pretty well except the putter. So I'm kind of passing on that. CT Pan was actually almost one of my top value plays. But I think it came down between him and Gooch, and I just really liked Gooch just because of what he can do on tougher courses. But definitely, hey, CT Pan beat that, the playoff for the bronze here recently. He's shown some life at a T29 at Wyndham. So I could see that. Troy Merritt, I kind of mentioned in my earlier shows that he actually at Liberty National came out and shot a course record, 62, I believe it was. So again, someone that you could think about plugging in. Aaron Wise, awesome ball striker. I believe he actually gained with the putter at the Wyndham. I want to just check that. Yeah, gained almost 3 strokes to the putter. So again, kind of rare. He was, lost strokes off the tee, but if somehow he could gain, and you can see he's had some life with the putter at the Memorial, at the PGA, then kind of fell, back. And then, but also lost off the tee at the Wyndham. But if he's doing what he typically does, could be a great play. I actually bet him. I mentioned it earlier. Sure, my brokeback pick, Patty Kazire, of course. I'm not totally out on him. I will probably sprinkle him in, but he is not going to be one of my top value plays. Just makes me a little nervous. The tee to the green is once he gets around the green or on the green could be very deadly. Funny enough, Brian Stewart, who is going to be one of my top value plays. Actually rated out in my model number 1 over the last 24 rounds. You can see, he's been doing a bit of it with the putter, but he's also, ranked number 1 out of the field right now over the last 24 rounds. But he's also been hitting from 175 to 200, hitting fairways. The ball striking maybe is not the greatest, but everything I'm looking for, funny enough, at 6,500, he's the best rank from a model perspective. And you can kind of see this, a 15th, a 6th, a 15th, an 8th. Now, over some of these are, of course, a lot easier, fields in tournaments. But if we go jump on Brian Stewart, we can see he's just loses just a hair on bent. So you could get a little nervous about that. Let's go look at off the tee recently. Where is he trending? So kind of on the downside there, comparative. And you can see that right here, over his last 250. Typically that's, and when I'm saying he's losing off the tee, it's not even a stroke, but he's just not hitting it far enough. But typically he's hitting fairways. And you can see that right here, last 5 tournaments. But he's been hot on approach here or there. The putter, as I mentioned, doing quite a bit, gaining 7 strokes, 4 strokes, 9 strokes. But, what is it, last 6 tournaments, he's been gaining quite a bit of strokes with the putter. So, I kind of feel like if he can keep the putter going and just stay about neutral off the tee, gain on approach, he could be a pretty solid play down here. Let's go see what he's done. The Northern Trust, he's played quite a bit. And at Liberty National, he had a 52nd. So that's pretty interesting there. Did he make it on the BMW? Nope, he did not qualify to make it on the BMW, at least in the last couple of years. The Memorial's played quite a few times at Murfield. Best showing was a 33rd, it looks like, but miscut in 2020. What about the Genesis? Miscut recently, but 23rd the prior year. Let's go look at the Arnold Palmer. A couple miscuts recently, but a 36. Best showing was a 16th. That was way back, though. Let's go look at the 3M. So again, had a 6th place here recently at TPC Twin Cities. Even losing off the tee, but did everything else really well. What about the Honda? Miscut recently, and best showing was a 20th back in 2019. And let's go see WGC. Only played 1, and that was Bridgestone. That's a while ago, but had a 16th, but really ain't going to count that. And then I don't think he did make the CJ Cup at Shadow Creek, and then I highly doubt he made the Zozo. So anyways, I like Brian Stewart. He's been producing occasionally, typically a great ball striker, even though the rate there is not really showing. But it's everything else here that I didn't like. Seb Straka, actually, I bet. It was pretty good. I think it was like 250 to 1. Just recent life that I've been watching. So what he did, of course, at the Olympics. Had a good showing at the Wyndham, good showing at the Travelers, but a few miscuts inside there. But can see that if you're going with some builds, which I will do, building the guys that are pretty elite tee to green, but it's the short game and the putter, which I feel like not so much the putter, but the short game is going to be really key here. You could think of the Seb Straka's, Luke List, the Griots, could all fall in that. Kyle Stanley could fall in that bucket. Gonna kind of skip. Henrik Norlander I looked at for a bit. Again, he kind of falls in that good tee to green. It's just what is he going to do around the green or putting? Right, he withdrew, I believe, from the Wyndham. I don't know why. Maybe he just decided to take a week off to get ready for the FedEx playoffs. I don't think there was any information on that. The next guy that I'm landing at is at 6,300. I've been on Hammer and Hank. You can see going in Fuego with the birdie or better opportunities. He had this withdrawal after he was actually, I think, 4 or 5 under after Friday, so you can't really worry about that. The Wyndham cut, that was a little alarming, but of course you can see a T8, a T4, or T5. At this price range, you can see projected ownership's a little bit higher, but I think there's a pretty good value for Hank. I don't have any worries that he can't come out of this. Bent's his best surface of our life of his career. Can handle average difficulty courses. If we look at off the tee, how he's been trending, kind of, a little bit on a down at the very end, which, probably represented right here. But he's been doing it, with approach, putter, around the green. Historically, he can be pretty decent off the tee. So if he just goes neutral there, keeps gaining on approach, gain a little on around the green, keep the putter at least somewhat hot, maybe like gaining 3 strokes, I think he could be pretty live. Let's go look at some past. So he's never played the Northern. I don't think he's even made the actual FedEx Cup playoffs. So this will be his first year. What about Memorial? He's not played. So probably some of these tougher courses that I do want to kind of see. He's not going to fall. He's played Arnold Palmer once, but missed a cut. 3M. He did not play the recent one, but he had a 26 in 2020. What about the Honda? A couple miscuts. So again, a lot of this is going to be going on recent form. Yeah, everything else that I want to look at, he is not going to rank out. I kind of told you guys, a lot of these guys out here are not going to have the pedigree that we're looking for. You're kind of looking for the guys that have been running hot, and why not? We're going to keep going with them. Doug Gim kind of fits into that, also that ball striking, elite. If they go off of the putter, it could be a nice, nice week for them. And I think the last guy I wanted to talk about, maybe that was it. Yeah, I guess that was it. Also, Sam Ryder, I think, is interesting. I looked at him. He spiked at the Honda. Let's go see here real quick where his tournaments. So you can see gains on bent. And what I just wanted to kind of look at here is, yeah, so I mean, some of his better finishes. So I mean, Corrales and Barbasol, that's a little bit weaker. But he did have that 8th place, right? He had shot like shot crazy low. I don't know if it was like on Tuesday or a Friday or Saturday. But yeah, I mean, there's some validation. If you wanted to go all the way down to Sam Ryder, I could see that. Okay, that's the analysis on my value plays. Also kind of talked about some other ones. Get you to look at some of the information I'm looking at. Let's go look at ownership projections. All right, so as I've always mentioned, kind of give you if you are a little bit newer and haven't seen this, this is out of Fantasy National. It gets generated by a ton of people picking their favorite players, generating mass lineups, of course, into a DraftKings. That takes all that data and gives you a pretty accurate of what it will be from an ownership projection when it actually happens. But I always say it can go up 1%, 2%, or down, we could look at it a couple ways. I'm actually going to look at this one just I like the sort by salary. So you can see, so at the 11,000 range, Rom over double of what DJ is. So if you want to make a pivot, of course, it would be DJ. Of course, went in Fuego at TPC Boston, but just hasn't been showing enough for us to get on. But, I'll probably build some lineups with DJ in it. If he's going to have that kind of low ownership, I'll definitely pivot. I'm actually kind of shocked by Xander's ownership here. I guess it's the guys that are around him, the Morikawa and Spieth. They rather make that, and I guess the showing that he had. Oh, geez, I'm going to blank now. I don't think it was a Wyndham. It was a previous tournament where he struggled. So that I'm guessing, what have you done for me lately? Let me go click on Xander real quick. I don't know why I cannot think of. Yeah, so the WGC St. Jude. I'm guessing people are not too happy about how that went. So he's, you could if you want some differentiation, you could go DJ Xander at the top. You also got Koepka coming in at 9%. You can see the guys that are higher. I'm not going to go over them, but I'm just going to pick out some guys that are a little lower. Again, JT, right? It's just been a disaster with the putter, but if that clicks, he does a lot of the things we want. The irons coming in around the green. The driver's kind of been here or there. Yeah, Victor Hovland again. I think, which was one of my picks. It is the upside of he has a good putting week. Could do very well. Answer. I think it's a good play. A little chalky. Everybody is on Daniel Berger, and I've stated this. I'm going to state it again. He could be the super chalk bomb. What I mean by that is that typically when everybody in the field everyone's excited about one guy. Typically that's the guy that will struggle. And this course, I don't think of Daniel. It's not Bermuda. And it's also a little longer course than usually what Daniel Berger does. So I stated I was a little hesitant, but I did go with the Daniel Berger kind of sentiment. I saw what people were thinking and looking at with the history and recent form. But I will make the warning, he's not probably a bad guy to fade, at least in some lineups for sure. If you want to get some differentiation, he could struggle, but we'll see. You got Paul Casey almost. So let's see who's the highest owned right now. You got Morikawa and Paul Casey right now, and then Berger are your highest kind of owned. You can kind of just see here. Spieth, Cantlay, that's interesting, right? I mean, he hasn't shown a whole lot, but could be a great place for him. I think people thought maybe that he was going to be less owned, so maybe that was even part of the play. All right, let's go back and break this down by salary. I'll kind of scroll through this real quick. Patrick Reed, past champion at Liberty Nationals, only at 9%, but he hasn't been doing the things that we're used to seeing Patrick Reed do very well. I would say his around the green and putting have been kind of nothing super exciting. Adam Scott almost at 12%. Also a past champion here, way back. But I think people are excited because he had, of course, right, should have won the Wyndham, but missed a 4-foot putt. Kevin Kisner, man, past winner off the Wyndham. No one's giving any love for Kiz. Could be a play. Fitzpatrick, not doing the things that we're usually accustomed to seeing doing. So people are kind of off him. Let's see. Sunjay M could be an interesting play. He'll keep it in play. If the putter's okay, he could be a good play. Billy Horschel. Actually, I think actually could be a good play here. That could be a good differentiation. He was not one of my picks, but kind of does the things that we're looking for. Can manage long par threes. Good putter, usually known on Bermuda, but still pretty good putter. And if he's hitting fairways, could be a great play. Jason Day, we just haven't seen him in a while, but I understand why that's low. Siwoo Kim, I thought was interesting too that he was that low after making the playoff at the Wyndham. But again, he typically plays courses that he likes, and the rest could be pretty bad. Phil Mickelson, no love for Phil, man. PGA champion. How could you not pick Phil? Just kidding. I get that. Max Homa, I've got a bet on. I think he streaks, and also I also talked about he could be a sneaky play at 2%. Right? Whereas he's had his wins. He won Genesis. He won the Wells Fargo. He can handle tough courses, so someone to think about. Leishman's been a bit of a struggle. Stuart Sink, that's kind of interesting. I mean, the guy does hit fairways, pretty good on long approach. The putter has been kind of but that could be an interesting play at 7,100. Just kind of picking out the guys that are really low. Charles Schwartzel. So Schwartzel has fallen a little bit out of favor. No love for Lee Westwood. Already mentioned Higo. That's not a shocker. EVR, no one's getting on that streak. See who now, we'll kind of flip it. Who's the guys that are more higher owned? So, statistically, for whatever reason, Matt Walls does kind of show up here from a modeling standpoint. Reeve shows up here. Hammer and Hank Laboda. So, the guy that I'm picking at the value, again, it's the analysis and also just recent form. So he's almost at 9%, but at 6,300, it's kind of hard not to play him. I get that. There's Doug Gim. Again, I think everybody's still waiting for Doug Gim. Everything tells you to play him, but the putter just kind of blows up at the wrong times. Sam Ryder. So I mentioned, he's someone at bare min that would probably be the play that I would go with at 6,000 if you were all the way down and you kind of, there is like a lineup if you build with like Morikawa and Rahm that, and you put in some middle guys, you're going to end up at a Ryder. Okay, so that gives you some ideas of ownership projections. Last thing, as always, I will give you a quick update on weather. Again, use Windfinder. If you're already using Windfinder, then all I'm telling you is what you want to pull is Jersey City. There's also, right into Hudson, there's a buoy not too far off from the course, too, that's pulling the data. So you can pick either or. I went with Jersey City. It's right next to the course. If we take a look at Thursday, what we're looking at here, you do have some winds Thursday, rain in the morning. Funny enough, typically I'd be excited to see that rain at night, soften up the course. But if it is going to gust up to 18 or 15 in the morning, I don't know. I'll probably still put some guys together there. But, it's going to kind of be off and on throughout the day there. Then, really nothing to really talk about. Friday looks pretty good. Saturday looks good. Saying possibly some rain in the afternoon. And then Sunday, funny enough, looks like it's going to be the day that could cause some issues with wind. So keep an eye on the weather. Definitely keep an eye on, it looks like Thursday morning, see what's going on there, and then check out Sunday on how you build your finale teams. But yeah, that's your weather. And that's it. I think I covered everything I wanted to. So let's get you guys out of here, and I'll summarize my top value plays. Okay, so summarize who I like down below 7,000 for you guys. I like Brendan Todd. Just needs to putt, man. Do what you do, and needs to putt, and he could be up there. Could be sneaky. Of course, Hammer and Hank at that price tag, it's almost at 9% ownership, but I understand. I think it's a great play. I also like Mav McNeely. Now, again, I think a Mav on shorter courses, but I think he can handle this and keep playing the way he is. It could be a nice play at that value. Brian Stewart, again, been doing a bit with the putter, but just stay steady with that. And I think he could also be a little shocking surprise. And last but not least, I really like Gooch. Probably out of these five guys, if you ask me, hey, I'm only picking one of these guys, I would pick Taylor Gooch, just to give you that kind of summary. All right, that's it. That is my Northern Trust wrap of shows. Hopefully that gives you everything you guys need to have a successful Northern Trust and a kickoff to the FedEx playoffs. Again, please, if you've not subscribed, again, I tell everybody this. I was one of those people that wouldn't subscribe a lot, but it keeps me doing what I'm doing. And also, right, if you want to get into that $1,000 giveaway, could possibly be $2,000. Like I said, I think last I checked, I'm at like 830 some subscribers, somewhere around there. So we're not off by a ton to get two winners. So let's hit that subscribe button. And if I can help you with anything or any questions, hit me up on YouTube comments or on Twitter at DFS Golf Guru. All the best of luck to us. Have a great kickoff to the FedEx Golf playoffs. And I will talk to you guys next Monday. All right, take care.